Are you a completely broke Diablo 2 Resurrected player? Do you have absolutely no good gear to even use on a character? Let me guess, you don't even have any runes or anything you could even trade to get good gear. Well, don't worry, you're not a lost cause. I have an excellent build and character for you, and that's this young man right here, the mega budget Summon Necromancer. Now, the very first place we always start off with talking about builds is, of course, the stats page, the character page. Now, as for strength, it's going to kind of vary. I bumped it up over 100, but as I level up higher, we're only at level 75 on this character. We'll eventually be able to get enough strength to wear our Spirit Monarch, which will kind of be the end goal for this. There are different variations using the Necro heads, of course, but I'm going to assume most casters are going to go for the Spirit Monarch. But I'm going to assume that you can't even get yourself a 4-socketed Monarch, because you can see right here the shield I'm rocking. It's definitely not a Monarch. So I got just over 100 strength, but as we level up, like I said before, we will be able to get high enough eventually to use that. Dex, don't really need to add most of the time for most every Necromancer build, anything to that. We put all our remaining points into Vitality. We didn't put any extra in Energy. Everything's not min-maxed, of course. This is uber crazy mega budget gear right here. So you can see kind of where we're falling at. Obviously, if you find anything better along the way, this resistances right here are going to look way better. So taking a look at the skill tree, a great next place to go. Now just realize we are going to have to make sacrifices because we're not high enough level to really max out everything you'd want to on a Summon Necromancer. We also don't have a lot of plus skills because this gear is all Garbo. You can get all of it in Nightmare difficulty, actually. So this is kind of where I fell at, and this is how I would like to do it. Now, first of all, it is summons, but the summons, you really want them to stay alive. So maxing out Raise Skeleton and Skeleton Mastery, giving them way more life. And of course, we do also want to get one down, at least one down, to summon resistance, giving them, you know, some defense to the different elemental stuff that's going to hit them. So you will get a little bit of damage out of these skeletons for sure, but really the main thing is you want these things to stay alive, kind of blocking the damage from you and your mercenary. Now later on, as you're a budget character, you of course don't have infinity, but you are going to want to do an insight in an iron golem, so you may need to respec later if you're doing this character. Also, you can save some skill points because you got so many plus skills in your gear. You won't need to necessarily cap out some of the stuff that I went ahead and did here. But later on, you're going to put 1 point in Iron Golem and then max out Golem Mastery, because this will add life to your Iron Golem, which is your Iron Golem Insight later on. This is end game we're talking about right here. But of course, right now we don't have infinity, so we don't need to worry about it. Spoiler alert for later, we do have an insight on our mercenary. I do like to get 1 point down to revives. I don't use them all the time for the summons. Really, most of the time I go around without them. But in certain instances, I do bring up revives, like in cows where you want extra meat shields. And if, let's say, you're farming like Chaos Sanctuary and you want to take out Diablo by yourself, the summon and stuff don't do a ton of damage, so you can revive up a bunch of those and have them help you take out Diablo. Over on Poison and Bone, Bone Armor is a 1 point wonder. It's not going to do a lot here with just 1 point into it and almost no plus skills, but we got it in there. As we get more plus skills later on, as we level up, this is going to help us out even more. And then Corpse Explosion is our main damage dealer, to be honest. Went ahead and capped this out. As you put more points into Corpse Explosion, it does not increase the damage because it does a percentage of the corpse's life, but the radius on it, meaning as you get the skill points higher and higher, you're hitting a larger radius, more and more monsters, eventually just kind of popping the entire screen. So I always like getting this max Corpse Explosion to get as big of a radius as possible. Later on, as you get more plus skills, I've heard arguments of just getting this a 1 point wonder when you have like 20 something plus skills on your character, but we definitely are nothing close to that now. Now, popping over to the curses as well, if you're a poison necro, you got to kind of get down to lower res. You can get away with not doing that if you want to, but really on a summon necro like we are here, we got amp damage, and you see we have 17 base points into it right there. This is another one where it just increases the radius, and if you don't have any plus skills, you're like shooting into a thimble trying to amp damage each individual monster. But you get a larger radius, boom, you just cast it one time, then you can start corpse exploding, making sure they take as much damage as possible. So you could limit the amount of plus points you put into this, maybe put them over into summon resistance or somewhere else you would like to. But man, I like the quality of life of just casting amp damage one time or maybe just a few times, covering the entire screen. You don't have to worry about it anymore for that pack of monsters. Now the part I know you want to see, and that is of course the crazy budget gear. Now on pretty much any caster, the first item, we've got the Spirit Sword right here. So this is going to be kind of the go-to for any caster, like I said. Now, as for upgrade paths, of course, Heart of the Oak is going to be the probably next one up from this. So you'll probably be using the Spirit Sword for quite a while until you at least get high runes. Now, up on the helmet, we've got the Gemmed Crown. We got Perfect Topaz in here. Don't fret if you can't get all three of these Perfect Topazes. A lot of times I'll just plug Flawless Topazes in there because 3 Flawless Topaz is, what does that come out to? 60 Magic Find. So you're only losing 12 Magic Find. So just plug in the topazes the best you can get right at the end here, whether they're all 3 perfects or whether they're even just flawless. Now, upgrade paths here, you could always go with the Lore Helm. It's a good +1 to skill with a tiny bit more on there. Peasant's Crown, if you find one of those, another option that has +1 to skill on it, or the next one up from that, the third one, the Harlequin's Crest, of course. That's pretty much the best in slot, essentially, if you're out there farming monsters. Jumping over to the shield here, we go with the Rhyme Shale Eth, super easy, 2-socketed shield, a lot of great stuff. Take a look at that. Of course, the next upgrade from there is the GOAT for casters, and that is the Spirit Monarch. There's going to be other options as well. You can even put this Rhyme in like a Necro head if you can find something with 2 sockets and some plus skills on it. But of course, there is things like Homunculus. There is some of the other ones like Bone Flame and stuff along those lines. You'll have to take a look and see which one works with the builds. But Homunculus, never really a bad choice. But I'm going to be honest, I'd rather pretty much usually have Spirit. But I will admit, also Spirit has that huge strength requirement. So if you don't want to go that route, there are some other options there. Taking a look at the armor, we've got your stealth armor that you made in normal difficulty in Act 1 right off the bat here. So that cast rate on there and the other little things, really it's mainly the walk run, cast rate, hit recovery, a great option for that budget. But as for other options, of course, you've got the Skin of the Viper Magi, awesome for any casters with the skill, FCR, and all res. And then the end game, the GOAT, we're talking about the Enigma, because getting that teleport on your armor, it's almost hard to even explain how awesome that is to have. Now, as for gloves, budget options, a lot of times I either find something rare like this along the way, or I literally run over to a vendor and just find some magic stuff that I can buy that either has res or something else along the lines I like, such as Magic Find. A lot of times I'll keep a Magic Find set in my inventory, or in my stash, excuse me, and then I'll have the ones that I'm actually using most of the time that actually have res and stuff on it to help keep me alive. So you can even shop stuff that has a lot of res on it, such as another one over here on the boots. I bought these straight from a vendor, just went shop, looked over, bam, 40 walk run with almost 40 to a resistance there. This is poison. I kind of wish it was fire or lightning or something like that, but these are still pretty dang good considering I just bought them from a vendor. Of course, on the boots, once again, that's another spot where you can go ahead and get yourself some Magic Find set as well. Boots and gloves, usually pretty weak early on until you start finding better stuff later. Now, other options for gloves, of course, is pretty much the go-to for any necromancer. We're talking about the Trangs gloves. Getting the FCR, get a little bit of cold res right there too, and I guess the 2 to skills that help out your curses. I guess that's a boost, right? Over on the boots, there's probably like 30 different options you could throw over here, whether you're talking little upgrades like a water walks or throwing on some hot spurs or something for the fire res, whether you're throwing on war traps to kind of help you out with the Magic Find, or whether you're throwing on maybe the Alder's boots, life, some fire res to make up for what's not on the Spirit. You got the 40 walk run on it. So just a ton of options on the boots. You kind of can't go wrong. It's kind of a dealer's choice type of option. Now up on the amulet, kind of funny, I crafted literally just one caster amulet. I actually got one with 20 FCR. Don't expect that to happen, but I didn't get any skills. But it's cool to get the 51 to mana. That rolls up to 20 inherently, so I got an extra mana roll. But really, just go ahead and craft up your first caster amulet. Hopefully you get lucky with something that can help you out a ton. And as you go on later, if you find anything with skills, you find any other caster amulets that have good FCR along with the skills and stuff like that, whatever you find along the way, pretty much. But of course, for the necromancer, if you're looking for like a unique to trade for or something, Amara's Kaleidoscope is obviously going to be great with the 2 to skills and the all resistance. Now down on the rings, you can always find something like this. Maybe you got some strength and dex. That's pretty nice with the lightning res, 10 FCR. Hopefully you find something along those lines, but also you could just find a magic ring with 10 FCR. You can find something similar to that just in normal difficulty. But as of course, if you can't get these rare stuff like this, you can go over and gamble a few rings, just hopefully getting a res or something like that over from Geeds. Usually rings kind of sort themselves out. Whatever you find along the way, just kind of the best you get. Of course, if you can go ahead and trade for whatever you want to, really nasty FCR rings, or of course, Stone of Jordans are absolutely amazing in this spot. Now taking a look at the belt, went ahead and crafted up just one caster belt here. Kind of important for me, I always go over to Geeds and I actually cycle through until I find this type of belt right here. You go ahead and gamble up a few, but always make them in a shark skin belt or the next one higher. I don't remember what it's called, but don't necessarily make them in the light belt in my preference, because for the shark skin belt, you get the extra slots in the belt. If you actually have the light belt, it's just 2 rows, and that is really rough for potion management. The next slot above this is pretty much jumping up to the Arachnid's Mesh with the skill and the FCR. So anything in between there, if you want to throw on a gold wrap or magic find, or maybe perhaps you don't need the FCR and you just throw on a Dungo or a Strings or something just for the damage reduction. Now swapping over to the offhand, you got to get yourself a teleport staff. Now the next upgrade from the teleport staff is of course going to be the Nage's Puzzler, because you have more than twice as many teleport charges on that, along with it does also have FCR and a few other little things that while you're teleporting around maybe could help you out a little bit, but mainly it's the extra teleport charges and the FCR. Then of course the offhand, you're not going to be surprised that the next upgrade path is going to be the Call to Arms, and something that gives you plus skills, whether you're going with the lidless because you want the lower strength, or the Spirit Monarch on the other offhand. Now Mercenary, pretty important to look at here, because actually your Mercenary usually gets like your first kill. He's like your main damage output. Get the first corpse down, he does more damage with the amp damage you're casting, and then you start using Corpse Explosion and you melt the giant packs. So it's going to be important to go with the Might Mercenary. Don't go with the Cold Mercenary. You don't want the bodies to shatter, and you want to try to avoid any cold damage over here, because you need that first body down so you can start using Corpse Explosion. Very important. So we have our Might Mercenary right here. It's also important to go with an Insight, because number one, it doesn't have any cold damage, and number two, getting that meditation or to keep your mana up. You can get away with this later once you get your Infinity over here. Infinity is absolutely going to be a better option. And then making your Insight Iron Golem. Now up on the helmet, a lot of different options. We got Bulwark up here. Once again, no cold damage, but you get the Life Leech, which is crucially important on your Mercenary, and a good damage reduction. I believe it's 10 to 15. This one got 14, not a terrible roll right there. So beyond Bulwark, you got Tal's Mask, and of course the next higher up, Andarl's Visage. And you could go, if you want to go even more lower budget, it's not going to be as good, I believe. I think Bulwark is better, but you could go with the crafting a Blood Helm. You get a 1 to 3 mana roll, so the 1 is almost worthless, and 3 is like, okay, I guess. But the maximum roll of 3 on a Blood Helm is 1 under the minimum roll that I got right here. This Bulwark actually rolls 4 to 6 on the Life Leech. So there is going to be another option. It uses the IO rune like right here that we're using in the Bulwark, and that's going to be the Cure Helm. This one's not usually used on this build necessarily, but if you're farming areas where the poison is just causing you a lot of problems, sometimes I'll have a cleansing aura over there on my Cure Helm to just kind of keep me and my Mercenary alive, getting rid of that poison or any curses around. Now, kind of a budget option on the armor. Natalia's armor, a lot of people just chuck it right out. And actually, I went ahead and stuck a Rail or Thull in there, which is going to be cold, lightning, and fire res. So this armor right here, 75 to life, you can see right there, along with 25 to poison with the poison length reduced, and 30 to all the rest resistances. So that's definitely helping out the survivability. Yeah, the life and the res keeping you alive, and really your Mercenary doesn't have to worry too much about poison with poison length reduced. Another great budget option is actually another 3-socketed set one that's kind of overlooked, gets tossed out all the time. Griswold's armor. It's another one that has 3 open sockets. It comes with strength too, so if you're ever trying to use a CV or any base for your Insight and you don't have enough strength, you can go ahead and throw that on. It's got 20 to strength base on it, along with the 3 open sockets, so you can pick which resistances you want to make up, or stick some amethysts in there to get even more strength to use that high strength base for your Insight. Of course, upgrade path for this one, you're going to be talking about things like Treachery, and up from that, probably Fortitude. But of course, there are several other unique options like Shaft Stop or Dural Shell that could work over here as well. Now that's all well and good, Phil. I've seen how you put it together, but does it actually work in hell difficulty? Well, here we are heading out to the pits in Act 1. The pits is a great place for almost any build, and the Corpse Explosion Summon Necromancer, no exception. A lot of times I'll stop at one of these Carver encampments, take some of them out, and go ahead and bring up some skeletons. Here we are actually down in the pits. It's an 85 area where you can find every single unique in the game, so absolutely great spot. Here you can see us kind of taking out some packs right here, a couple champion packs. Takes a second, Mercenary takes out 1 monster, and you see me spinning the mouse around, blowing up the bodies. Sometimes I'll get asked, why am I just spinning the mouse around like that? Well, what I'm doing is I'm holding down the Corpse Explosion skill and then just swiping my mouse over where I believe there's going to be some dead corpses. Now the thing is, if you just hold down the button, and if you get anywhere close to a corpse, it'll start popping and it'll blow up all the monsters around. Now the pits went down pretty easy. Here we are heading out to another spot that's reasonably good for Summon Necromancer, a newer 85 area to Diablo 2 Resurrected anyways, and this is the Stony Tombs. This place, no cold immunes, no fire immunes, so half a Corpse Explosion is fire and half is physical. So we're taking everything out down here pretty easy. Like I said, it's a new 85 area, so all of the uniques in the game can drop from down here. And you see so far, working pretty dang good, and if you haven't noticed or haven't seen it yet, I am utilizing that teleport staff relatively frequently. That way you can get your summons right up there, and you can get your actual Mercenary right up in the thick of things, dealing out some damage, getting that first monster taken down, and then you utilize that corpse explosion to just melt the entire room. Funny enough, here down in the Stony Tombs, I actually get a boost up for my character here. Well, it's going to depend on the person where they think it's a boost. Here's Ghost Armor. This is the Spirit Shroud with a 1 to all skills with a couple of other little things there to help out the character. Interesting to note too, if you look down at the experience at level 75, if you actually get out there and kill monsters relatively quickly in these 85 areas, I've gotten almost half a level here in just a few minutes, just from the pits and from the Stony Tombs. Now let's go to a little bit harder area. We're actually heading out to the Chaos Sanctuary. Now, it can't actually work on the Chaos Sanctuary, can it, Phil? Now, I will admit, it is much more difficult than the pits and the Stony Tombs, but it absolutely does work. You can go ahead and clear this whole area without too much of a problem. You just keep on doing what you're doing, repositioning your mercenary and your skeletons with the teleport skill, and utilizing that corpse explosion, clearing everything out for you. Now, the only unfortunate thing is Diablo is a little bit too hard for this particular character. You don't have enough plus skills to bring up enough revives to deal enough damage. Your mercenary is not outputting quite enough damage, so probably Diablo is just a skip for now. Just to show a little bit more example in a few other great places, it absolutely wrecks Eldritch out here. Just no problem, maybe a couple of seconds, and you can go ahead and take out Shank without any problem either. I will admit sometimes there are like quill rats or archers down there and make it a little harder, but it's not too tough. Important to note too, anywhere you're going, if you want to bring up any skeletons super easy, you can get some right out here on your way to Pindle, or you can even come out here and take out Pindle because you got your skeletons ready to rock on your way out there, and then you go ahead and just rip Pindle right out real quick. Right here I have a little bit of a problem. This is why you need the teleport staff. My mercenary's just stuck by my skeletons and nobody's dealing any damage, so kind of give it a little reposition, and then I can go ahead and start corpse exploding. And there we go. I actually gained a level all just in one game, clearing a few different areas. So that's how fast you can kind of level up with this corpse explosion necromancer. And that's leveling just on players 1 as well. Another area that you could go after, just for another quick example, down here at Neolithak, I like doing this because what you actually do is you kind of beat him to the punch, corpse exploding the dead body. So he'll try to cast on one particular one. Hey, I took that corpse, buddy. Sorry. Go ahead and rip him out, and you're hoping for keys, and he is high enough to drop every item in the entire game. Now that's the mega budget summon and necromancer. Let me know if you love using this one or any other mega budget builds that you love using out there. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe up. Before you go, peace out, fellas, and keep slaying.